I couldn't be there with you today to introduce the next project, but it's going to be an exciting project, and you are super stoked, and we are super ready to move on. So we've just finished our unit about why agriculture is important to Minnesota and the world, and what the financial impact of that is. We're going to move on to learning about individual commodities. As you learned in your last unit, a commodity is something that we grow or raise or manufacture in order to sell it to ourselves within our country or other countries as well as exports and imports. So today we're going to start working on a commodity project, and as you should have in front of you a commodity worksheet. If you do not have that in front of you, pause for just a moment so that the substitute can pass out that specific worksheet document. Hold on one moment. You should have in front of you a worksheet that says Agriculture Literacy Commodity Project. Let's talk a moment for talk about this for just a minute. So the directions on this project are that each of you, and you're actually going to do this in pairs, but each of you will be researching a commodity grown or raised in Minnesota. You will get to decide how you want to deliver the information. However, Mrs. Williamson has a few ground rules. First, you cannot use a PowerPoint. Second, you cannot make a poster. Third, you cannot write a research paper or essay about this. Now, when I say PowerPoint, I mean any sort of PowerPoint. So whether that's using PowerPoint, Google Slides, or a Prezi, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. You need to come up with a creative way that you're going to disseminate the information to the rest of your class. This project, by the way, will be due on November 24th, which gives you ample time to work on this. There's a list of suggestions of different things you can do at the bottom of the sheet of paper that the sub has given you. They include, you can do an advertisement, make a series of advertisements about that commodity. You can have a huge one-page layout ad about corn and the greatness that it is. You can make an informational book or a children's book. You could make a cartoon about it. You could do an advertisement, like an actual ad, like a television ad, and videotape it. You could do a brochure. I have some bulletin boards that would love to be redecorated if you want to make a bulletin board all about your project. Now you'll notice that it says crossword puzzles. That's crossword puzzles with an S, meaning that if you're going to use a crossword puzzle, you'll have to do more than one. And it's crossword puzzles, not word finds. Word finds aren't educational. Well, they can be, but not for this project. Games. You can make a board game or a classroom game about your commodity. You could write a song, or even better, a parody. Now, if you choose to make a movie or a parody or do any of that kind of thing, and you need to videotape it, that's great. But just be prepared that you're going to have to upload that videotape to Mrs. Williams, or that movie to Mrs. Williamson's YouTube account so that it can be shared with the whole class. And if you choose to do that, as far as uploading it to a YouTube account and having that done, you need to just have that video in digital format accessible at school. And on the 24th, when I'm here, I will help you upload the video to my website so that you can show it to the entire class. You can make an interpretive dance about your crop. I would love to see someone do the dance of the swine. You can write a series of letters to your grandparents or your parents or your ex-friend from 5 years ago about the greatness that is beef cattle. You can make a model or a display or a diorama. You can make a portfolio or a scrapbook. You can write a play. You could write a speech. Now, a speech is different than standing up in front and lecturing, so you need to understand the differences in that. You could write a series of short stories. Your short stories could be entitled Polly the Pig Plays with her pork. There's so many opportunities to be able to disseminate this information to your class, and I am so excited to see what you guys come up with to do this project. Now, as I said, you get to work in pairs, and I know you're super excited to find out exactly who your partner is, and I have the commodity for you. So here we go. Our first grouping today will be Hunter. And Grace and Hunter, you are super, 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 super lucky because you get to research dry, edible beans. And they're not dry, but they are, as a topic, they're just dry, edible beans. Ha, ha, ha. Our next group, ready? Wait for it. Wyatt and Jacob. Wyatt and Jacob Anderson, you are going to be discovering the adventure that awaits you with potatoes. Next, we have Emery and Caden. Emery and Caden, are you ready to roll in the mud? Because that's right, you have swine. Brett and Devin, you get to do something near and dear to Mrs. Williamson's heart, and that is investigating the forestry industry in Minnesota. Hallie and Emery. Hallie Bundy and Emily Finberg, you're going to research corn. And when you do your processing method, I want you to do the processing of ethanol. And I'll explain that in just a minute. Shane and Brandon, you get to do the best fiber and oil crop out there, and that is soybeans. Isaac and Gavin, are you ready to embrace your wild side? Because you're going to be researching barley. Haley Nichols and Jake Elliott, you get beef cattle. Are you ready to move on up? Next we have Megan Elliott and Morgan Pearson. You're researching the greatest commodity that we have around here. They're big, they're large, they're in charge, they're sugar beets. Next we have Brody and McKenna. Brody and McKenna, you have been very bad. You guessed it, you get to research sheep. Merritt and Derek. Merritt, I can't imagine that you're going to know anything about this commodity. You get to research dairy cows. And last, but certainly not least, we have Zoe and Abigail. Zoe and Abigail, you are definitely taking a walk on the wild side because you are researching wild rice. Now, oh goodness, that was a lot of effort. Okay, so now we're super excited to go through this with you. If you have an animal, so if you are researching swine or sheep or dairy or beef cows, you need to find out the following information about this and include it in your presentation. You need to find out how that animal is used. What are its uses? Now, all of our animals are used for meat, but they're also used for other things, so I challenge you to find some of those other things. How is it grown? So, when is it born? What time of the year? How long is it alive before it is slaughtered and processed? What weight is it when it's slaughtered and processed? Those kinds of things. And then I want you to tell me about the processing of it. What happens to that animal between it leaves the farm and gets to your plate? You need to tell me what the total sales are in Minnesota for your project. And of course, you need to figure out a way to include some pictures. And it doesn't matter what specific way that you choose to disseminate the information, you still need to have some pictures. Next, we have our plant people. Our plant people, our edible beans, our potatoes, our forestry, our corn, our soybeans, our barley, our sugar beets, and our wild rice. You also need to tell me, what is it used for? Now, we all know that we eat corn, but what are some other uses for corn? What are some other uses for barley? How do we use trees? I'm super excited to learn from you. Next, you need to tell me what happens from the seed to when that plant is taken out of the field. Then, you need to tell me what happens from the field to the plate. So pick a way that it's processed. And as I already articulated, corn is processed into many different products. And I would like for you to focus on how corn is processed into ethanol. Once again, you also get to tell me what the total sales are in Minnesota, and you need to show me some pictures. Now, before you all start, oh my God, Mrs. Williamson, this is too much. You want us to do this research, and you want us to come up with a creative way to present it, because let me tell you, creativity does count. Well, before you get too hung up on all that jazziness, I want to show you something. This is my computer screen. Yay, computer screen. And I am going to type in a web page, and this web page is also listed on the board in the computer lab. It is www.mda.state.mn.us/kids. This is the Minnesota Department of Agriculture website. And on the Minnesota Department of Agriculture website, there's a tab right here that says Educational Resources. You're going to click on that Educational Resources. Then you're going to scroll down here where there's this beautiful state of Minnesota. See how beautiful that is? And you're going to click on Supplemental Materials. Click on Supplemental Materials. Right here where it says wild rice, all of you are going to click on wild rice, even if you're not researching wild rice, because underneath wild rice it says Minnesota Commodity Card Set. Click on that, and oh, lo and behold, here's an entire list of all the commodities that are grown in the beautiful state. Well, not all of them, but a major of them. So if I am, oh my gosh, researching alfalfa, I would click on alfalfa, and I know that none of you are researching alfalfa because you are in the second section. I have this beautiful PDF that says alfalfa, has a picture on it, even tells me the top 10 commodities in Minnesota, but you don't necessarily have to know that. And then it tells me alfalfa, this is about the crop, this is about planting, this is about harvesting, this is about uses. Look at that! There's all the information that you need. Well, most of the information that you need in order to be able to research this commodity. If I were you, I would print off this PDF sheet so that you have it for your research portion. You're going to have 2 class periods to work on your project. You have 3 class periods. You will have the rest of today, you will have Thursday and Friday to work on this commodity project so that you will be prepared and ready to go to present it to me on the 24th when I return. Now, if we go back to our document, it also says in our document that you must turn in a works cited or bibliography with your project, and that is true. Even if you do a board game, I want to see a citation of exactly where you found your information. If you do not have that, you will automatically get a 0. You are also graded on your neatness and your creativity. And I expect you to have a happy, good time doing this project. If you have any questions, please feel free to have the substitute contact me, because I'd rather have these questions asked and answered than get back and have you not have it finished. I hope you have a great time. I'll see you next week.